All right, this time we're good.
Right.
uh,
We are
round two.
good. All right. Legends Live is up there too. Good. Okay. So I haven't filled a football camp. Jeez. Well, no, it's only been a couple years. I used to fill the Rivals ones when we had the camp series, but really like to own, and we're talking about the Winterfest camp we're going to get to here in a second. But to own a camp, to like run it from scratch, A to Z, and be the person who gets, player one there and player 200 there and all that stuff. I haven't done that since VTO in 2010, maybe. So this is kind of interesting to me. See if I still got it. Myfootballcamps.com/winter is the link. You're going to change up a little bit of the dating and stuff. You could talk about that now, but we're shooting to get 200 kids there in Jersey, right?
Yeah, we're shooting to get 200 kids. We're moving the date back 1 month just to give the guys another opportunity, really another month to get working because a lot of kids are just starting in their off season. So, but yeah, it's gonna be a huge opportunity. It's gonna be one of the first events, if not the first event on the Northeast, and it'll give prospects really an opportunity to be around you, and to be around me, and to really kind of get that exposure that they're looking for. And it's important, especially this is a younger group of guys. It's important for them to. We can't say this enough. Early and often, be out there, showcase yourself as much as you can. It's a new, we thought back in the speaking of 2010, right? Back when that was, I would say, when we were all exploding in the camp space, and obviously you were exploding in the recruiting space, and that was really like what we call the boom time period, right? And events were real important then. Then we got into this little, I would say, lull right before this whole transfer portal stuff and NIL, where you kind of were able to uh, get a lot from what you were getting with Huddle. Huddle had exploded, and you were getting more from that avenue. So the events were always still important, but there were other avenues. Now with the transfer portal and NIL and so much things shifting and scholarships coming and going, um, you need to be out there even more than you needed to be before back in 2010. So that's the world it is, and whether people like it or not, that's irrelevant. What it was relevant is that it's important to get in front of people that can evaluate and see what you can do.
And it's different now too. It's like back then, it was very simple. To me, it was like kids wanted attention. They come to camps. They worked out. If they caught your eye, they get on a website, and the rest would take care of itself. And that's just not happening anymore. Not that it was easy, but that was kind of the way. I just talked to you about some camps that I used to do in Connecticut and Massachusetts, and there were always some kids that you never knew about, you never heard about, you wrote up about, and then all of a sudden they started getting recruiting. That doesn't happen anymore. Coaches do not look at websites anymore when it comes to the big ones, Rivals, 24/7 on three. For players anymore, because now all the kids on those websites all have offers. They don't put kids up anymore that don't have offers, and they don't put kids up anymore that don't have interest, because now they're trying to get subscriptions. They're trying to get people to pay for their content, which is their business model. And nobody wants to read about, I'll give you an example of one of our kids, Carson Krueger, the quarterback from Texas. I talked to him this week. I don't know if this is public or not. I think it is. He wouldn't tell me what schools, but he decommitted from Drake. Did he tell you that?
I did not realize they decommitted.
So he got an FCS offer from Drake. He was on no radar whatsoever before our promotion, and we'll get into that too. It's myfootballcamps.com/D1. He was a backup to Cade Klubnik, the Clemson 5-star quarterback. He had to switch schools. He had a good junior year, but it was too late by then for really to be on the 2023 quarterback radar. So he got FCS offered from Drake and a couple others through us, and not through. I mean, he's a great player. We promoted him. We didn't do jack. I didn't throw with him. I didn't teach him mechanics. I didn't do anything. He's a talented kid. Just nobody really knew how good he was and all that. So he got all the attention. Got that. But now the early sign-in period's over. A lot of teams got sort of they got screwed on quarterbacks because some of the big schools, they swept in. And he didn't mention what schools are any, but it's FBS schools. Some of them are Power 5 schools that now need quarterbacks. And guess who they're calling? And guess who they're interested in? And he's going to have, at the worst, I believe, a preferred walk-on spot at a Power 5 or Group of 5 school. And at best a scholarship offer from one of those. And that's kind of how it works now. But the point of this is I tried to get him a profile and get him a ranking on some of these other sites. Nobody would do it, and you think, well, Jesus, you were at Rivals for 24 years. I mean, you pretty much started the star rankings there. Why wouldn't they do that? Because it ain't going to make them money. It's not going to do anything for them. So that's the type of kid, doesn't matter. He can go to camps all he wants. It took the promotion combination. So this Winterfest I'm excited about because, kids are going to go there and we're going to talk about the ones that are good. But also it's going to give them an opportunity to talk to us about the promotion, where that's the next level. Camps, promotion, that combination of things, you can get Kruger status recruiting, and it takes a while and you have to be patient. Remember how panicky he was in the beginning. Our guy Hartman, Sam Hartman.
Yep.
Or Ben Hartman, sorry. I keep screwing up his name. Offensive lineman from Oregon, just announced preferred walk-on at Oregon State.
Yep.
That's what he wanted, man. It's not a scholarship offer. He got scholarship offers from smaller schools, D2, FCS. But he wanted to play big time, and now he's going to be able to get that opportunity. And, of course, if he doesn't work out there, he's going to go into the portal. But now that he's a Power 5 kid, now everything could sort of work out for him. So patience is required. But these guys are putting into work. They're going to camps. Nobody's noticing them. So that's why I think this camp's kind of interesting to me. We're going to find kids, and then we're going to offer them the opportunity to get promoted as well and take their recruiting to the next spot.
Well, I think that's a big part of it. So we have the All-American game that I'm running coming up. It starts tomorrow, the practices. And we always say that's been like a gigantic sleeper fest where a lot of kids have come out of that people didn't know about. Even back in the day when we first started, I mean, the original impetus was the All-American game with Johnny Manziel and Mariota. And we, there are a few other All-Star games that were bigger, but those guys were 3 stars, but not like, end up being Heisman Trophy winners, long and short of it, right? But they were not going to be in the Army All-American game at the time or the Under Armour game, right? They played in that game, had that opportunity. But the bigger part of it is this: Coach Manis will be down there all week, who works with us on our D1 promo program, and Coach Manis will be talking to the athletes about recruiting and about taking the promotion to the next level, which I think is. Now for the seniors, we're not taking 2023s, unless there's like a special situation. But for those underclassmen that'll be there, it's a huge opportunity for them to be able to. Manis is going to talk to them about the recruiting process, exactly what we're talking about, and see if there are kids that are interested in getting help in that manner. So it's a huge opportunity. It's something that's big, and talking about the transfer portal, and you're going to bring up obviously some big time guys, but I just saw how things happen so quickly with Cormani Mcclain. Said he's not going to sign with Miami, and there's rumor that he could be going to Colorado. And then you got Jimmy Horn Jr. is a transfer. So Cormani McClain's in high school, but Jimmy Horn Jr. is in college as a transfer who's I think is going to go to Colorado now, right?
Yep.
Those are instances of how fast it can flip, and where coaches get into different places, and Deion Sanders obviously is shaking it up from a recruiting standpoint, but that means that there's another opportunity now at Miami, right? And so on and so forth, right? That's how it all works. There's another opportunity now at where Jimmy Horn Jr. was looking previous to that. I think he was talking to Houston also or something. Yeah. So, those are, and you're going to talk about DJ. So, and what happened there?
Never stops. It's always, moving parts, and the moving parts are always interest me. So Matt Rule, as you know, is an East Coast guy, Pennsylvania guy, coached at Temple, then went to Baylor, went to Carolina. Now he's at Nebraska, but he's spot recruiting back in the East Coast.
Yep, I see that.
So it changes everything for everybody. I mean, had he not been the hire, had they went to Jim Leonard or somebody like that with or Lance Leopold or somebody with ties to Nebraska or Wisconsin, then they would be recruiting probably down into Texas over to West Coast. And Matt Rule is going to do that. But now there's an opportunity for, kids on the East Coast to get an extra look at Nebraska. And it's funny because the quarterback that was committed to Nebraska prior to that was from Springfield, Massachusetts, which is a place that never produces talent ever. It's not like they're not good players, just nobody recruits that area. And he ended up at Virginia Tech. So everything sort of flips and changes. Did Rule want him? I don't know. Did he have a chance to talk to him before he decommitted? But it's moving so fast with everything, and it doesn't stop. And this is what I love about it. I hate the portal, how fast it moves at times. But now that Christmas is over, it's going to move at a pace where I can follow it and really handle it and not go crazy. And Mark Pashanik, my portal guy, can not go crazy, because now it's going to go trickle through the spring, and then you got the 15-day window after the spring where then you got the freshmen enrolling, and then you got the freshmen that are going to show up on campus in June and be like, this isn't what I wanted, and they're going to hit the portal, and there's going to be opportunities for schools there to have openings of their roster, and then after the fall camp, kids are going to be like, well, I was promised a starting job, I'm out of here. I mean, freshmen are going to be jumping in the portal, so there's a lot of opportunities out there for kids. And sometimes you're well unknown. McCrae Moore, the portal kid we got from Idaho, okay, faster than hell. I mean, if you look at his film, I just put him up again on the Feral Portal feed today. 10,500 meter, but nobody knows who he is. No one's ever heard of him. He went to high school in Idaho. He transferred, I believe, from Idaho State to Idaho, or I don't, just lost in the shuffle. Nobody knows about him. But with the promotion, now people are starting to understand who he is. And I had a few people just comment, wow, that kid's fast. Just, coaches here and there. I'm not, like I said, we don't talk to coaches on your behalf. We don't do this. We put your stuff up. If they like it, they're gonna comment on it and look at it. So DJ Uwangalele, as you mentioned, he's going to Oregon State. There was rumors he was going to Hawaii. This is a 5-star kid who went to Clemson, didn't have the success everybody expected him to have. Clemson didn't make the playoff the last 2 years. Kate Klubnik, who I just mentioned, was ahead of Carson Krueger in high school, sort of blocked his recruiting a bit. He's the starter now because they want to give him a chance. DJ goes to Oregon State. Well, guess what's happening at Oregon State now? You might have a quarterback jump in the portal because now you brought in a quarterback. And it's like this with every position. And if you're not getting extra attention, if you're not taking the effort to be noticed, then you're just going to get passed by. And that's the sad part of life. I talk to kids and parents through DM all the time. And I mentioned them. One kid got angry at me this week. He's like, you're charging me money for promotion? What about all these other kids that you're tweeting out their offers and stuff? I go, they got offers, man. They don't need promotion. They got offers. People know about them. People don't know about you. This was a D2 kid, right? Talented. He's like, well, I shouldn't be punished because nobody knows about me. I go, that's the world, man. That's life.
And you're not being punished. It's they are. See, here's the difference. So kids who are, there's different echelons. This is not communism. Okay. There are different echelons where people are in. People who already have the offers or already have the opportunity to commit, they command what they command, right? And then that's their market value. That's why and someone who's wants to get recruited better get used to it, because you're going to be playing alongside someone, especially if you go to Division I. He might be making $100,000 a year, and you might be making $0 or $5,000 or $10,000, right? So you better get used to there being different tiers among things. It doesn't mean that you're in the end going to be the worst player. There's the end game. Anyone can be the better player, but it means that you just got to get used to it, and you got to keep working. And there are different avenues that you're going to have to explore that some people don't. Anyone who has multiple offers right away or has the ability to commit somewhere right away, they may have utilized that process early on. A lot of them do at younger ages. It may not be through us, but it's through some capacity that they're promoting. And You didn't do any of that, okay? And then you're in that situation. You have to be able to take advantage of the opportunity. And if you don't, then that's the way it shakes out. Look, there's a reason why certain players are at certain places, and there are a reason, and some of it has to do with their ability, and some of it has to do with they played in a place that doesn't get a lot of recruited often. And these are the realities of the world where here's the opportunity to equal the playing field, right? That's where we're able to give you a chance to equal the playing field. Let's say, and I'll use New Jersey as an example. Let's say someone plays at Don Bosco or Bergen Catholic, right? There's a certain amount of coaches coming in there. Now, if you're the top tier player from Bergen Catholic, you probably have multiple offers there. But you could be a Division I guy even at Bergen Catholic. And if you're the fifth or sixth guy that the coach has to help out, and it's not that doesn't want to help you out, he is going to help you out. But I've done this. I'm a high school coach. I've had this happen. I've had multiple Division I guys, okay, at a time, and I've said, "Hey, this kid right here is Division I. He's a 6'8" lineman. Okay, they're going to recruit him right. But I also have this kid right here who's a 6'2", 205 linebacker, and they're like, okay, yeah, we'll look at it. Then I have this other kid who's 6'2", 190 wide receiver. Okay, now we're going down the chain, right? So if you have a lot of players, the emphasis on the next guys, they're all going to look at that first or second guy right away. But now 4 and 5 might be that level, but they're going to need help because even beyond their coach, because when I'm recommending guys, and I'm saying this to every school over and over again, I'm giving them my top guys. They're going to it's just nature. They're going to focus on the top 2 right away. Now you go to a smaller school. Let's say you go to, I don't know, where I went to high school. Saddlebrook, Group 1. The only reason I got recruited, and this is the old days, and it's still the same way. Other coaches recommended me. No one was coming to my high school. Right. Other coaches, this is the old days, right? Other coaches were like, listen, you should go over to this high school. This kid can play. But it affected my recruiting being at a very small high school because there was like 2 guys that went Division I every 10 years there. You know what I mean? So that's a big thing. So that's where the promotion can put you on that even playing field. Where Carson Kruger, who was behind Cade Klubnik, who went to Clemson, didn't get the opportunity, finally gets the opportunity, explodes. Well, he would have done that probably in relative obscurity, but this promo helped the process. It's not the only thing you have to do. That's the other thing I want to emphasize. If you just make it the only thing, you're not helping yourself. These are all complementary things that can really boost you. And we're glad to tell you the other things you need to do because there are other things you need to do. You can't just kind of do it in a vacuum.
Well, you're paying for it. You're paying to join a team is what you're doing, and people don't understand that, and they probably don't trust it or whatever. For the transfer portal, it's $300 till you find the home you're looking for. And again, that doesn't mean if your goal is Alabama, you don't get Alabama, we're going to promote you forever. That's just not how life works. It's until you find a home. It could be a walk-on home. It could be a partial scholarship home, or it could be a full scholarship home, whatever. $300, but it's to join a team. The 6-month promo for high school players is $1,000, but that's to join a team. And again, if this kid came back to me and he said, you know what, I think I'm going to do it. I was a little bit off put that it costs money, but nothing is is for free, which I told him. I said, listen, nothing's free in life, man. I'm sorry. If my engine blows on my car, I'm not going to go to like freaking the mechanic and say, well, my engine blew on my car. Can you fix it for free? No, that's life. I have to pay for that. And I hope that I find a good mechanic who's going to really take the time and not screw me over and say, well, you need this, and the it's going to cost $18 billion. There's a chance I might find that guy who screws me over, but I'm going to have to pay because that's what people do. And that's the way it works. So, if this kid comes back and says, listen, I want it, we're going to do whatever we can for him. We're going to give him advice. We're going to say, hey, listen, I would think you should do this. I think you should do this. I'm not going to contact schools on his behalf because that's honestly, to me, the places that do that, first of all, I don't think they contact the schools. Secondly, I think if they do, they just send an email and they feel good about it. And thirdly, your credibility is the most important thing in the world. I'm not going to contact, Jeff Hafley up at BC, who I've known for, 15 years, since he was a GA and say, man, you got to go on this kid when I don't think that kid is BC worthy. Because then he's going to be like, well, I'm not going to listen to you for any other kid you bring me. But we're also going to give you advice and tell you what to do and this, that, and the other. And we're also going to go above and beyond. I mean, I did a few videos today of kids that have run out of our 6-month program. They did that. We did our 6 promos for them. I honestly did like 8 for a couple of them. And I'm still putting out their stuff. Why not? It doesn't, the initial work of evaluating the film and putting the video together and all that stuff, that's what takes the time. To put it out again, it doesn't cost me anything. It really doesn't take a ton of my time. It takes a little bit, but not much. But I'm going to go the extra mile for them. And I want TK George, the defensive tackle who I put out today, I want the White Rhino to find a home. Because if he finds a home, it's good for us too. Because then we could say, hey, look, this kid ended up in Maryland, whether it's scholarship, partial, walk-on, whatever, that speaks to the promotion and how successful it could be. So you can get there. And this is the other thing too. FCS is not bad. Anybody who watched the Rams game against the freaking horrible Denver Broncos yesterday saw a guy named Kobe Durant. Kobe Durant, you probably never heard of before in your freaking life. He had 2 picks, including a pick 6. He's from Lamar, South Carolina. He gave up on high school. He gave up on college football. Didn't get any offers. Some guy at South Carolina State saw him and said, hey, we'll give you a shot here. Partial FCS scholarship. He goes there, becomes a all MEAC performer, gets drafted in the 4th round. Now he's a starting cornerback in the NFL, and he's a future star. But he gave up, and he landed at FCS, and now look at him. Anything can happen. So you have to understand that we're not here to fulfill your dreams and get you that Power 5 scholarship. We're here to find you a place and a home and then let you go from there. And I hope Hartman goes to Oregon State and outworks everybody. And I hope he ends up as a starter. And I hope he ends up an NFL player, because I can look back in 5 years and say that guy on that NFL roster, and we see a billion of them. You look at any NFL game and they introduce themselves. It's like, such and such from Alabama, such and such from Kennesaw State. There's half of them come from nowhere as come from big programs. And I like bragging on those guys if we can find them.
Yeah, Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp. I mean, you could go down the list of guys. I mean, look, even Hunter Renfrow, when he went to Clemson, he was a walk-on at Clemson. He I remember seeing him. He played in our All-American game. We thought, wow, we thought at the time this was Braxton Berrios light, right? And different build and everything. But he could have went FCS. He could have went FCS. He had the opportunity to do that. Yeah. So it wasn't like he didn't have offers there. But he wanted to go on the big stage, and he went to Clemson, and the rest of history gone in the NFL. I mean, it's these stories are all over the place. There was a time period where if you were a walk-on, you kind of were stuck. It's not that. I mean, this is where I guess you could argue this is where the transfer portal and NIL, as much as it's taken away some opportunities in some areas, it's created new opportunities too. You need these guys who are walk-on guys who say, I don't want to play at FCS. I have an offer, but I'll walk on to your Division I school, because a lot of those guys get opportunities to play because one guy leaves, a backup leaves, for example. Now I'm the backup. Now the starter gets hurt, and I'm in the game.
Yep. And there's different routes. Justin Jefferson had academic problems. I'm looking at the NFL receiving leaders. He had academic problems. He was a 2-star. Now, again, talent-wise, he wasn't a 2, but his academics were so bad. Somehow LSU got him in, and he turned into a great player. Now he's the best receiver in the NFL, arguably. Tyreek Hill had to go JUCO route. Stephon Diggs, he decided to go to Maryland when he had all these other bigger offers because he wanted to stay close to his mom. A.J. Brown, Ole Miss, heavily recruited, Under Armour All-American game. Devontae Adams, 2-star. Travis Kelce, 2-star. Was a quarterback out of high school, and things didn't work out. On and on you go, and you see these kids that are successful that really didn't have a whole lot going for them. And it's the skill positions are the worst example of it. It's the linemen. It's the linebackers. It's the guys you see. Have you ever heard of Foyosade Oluokun?
No.
Okay, he's the leading tackler in the NFL. and he went to college at Yale. And that's Ivy League, smart kid, but nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted him.
You know, it's
So
funny.
it's just
I remember seeing him when I was an agent. We were at the Harvard Yale game. We were looking at a Harvard player, and all I remember, he was a sophomore, freshman at the time, and there was a kid that was him, who was built and making all these plays, and I was like, now we ended up moving on, not ever. Like that guy, one day someone's gonna take him. There might be something there. I just remember thinking that at the game, and it's funny because you say the name now. I don't know the name, but when you said Yale, I remember that part of seeing him. And only thing we thought, me and my partner at the time, were like, that kid really is good. You don't know though. You still don't know because he plays at Yale. But we were like, we're looking at this defensive end from Harvard, and then this kid Tyler Varga, who you might remember from Canada, who I think was in a camp for like a day, So, but like it's interesting because that guy, until we were watching, we're just like, this kid does look like he's got enough size. It's just, I don't know. He's at Yale. Will he get there? We didn't know, but that's the guy.
You don't know. I mean, Matthew Judon is the second leading sack, guy in the NFL, and he came from Grand Valley State. Khalil Mack, potential Pro Bowler. He went to Buffalo. Nobody wanted him. So on and on. So what you make of it is your own. It's not the destination. It's where you land and how much you make of it there. So, but if you do need help.
Well, I'll tell you one other thing that's interesting because I just thought of this with Tyler Varga, right? Tyler Varga, who was from Canada, who had played in once a bunch of our events, and I think he played an All-Star game too. But he went to Yale, and we're looking at him. What was interesting is one reason why he went to Yale. You know what he does now for a living? And this is obviously ultimately one of the important things about being able to get your opportunity, whatever it is you play. He is now a surgeon. So that's not too bad. He's now a surgeon.
Remember Myron Roll? You remember Myron Roll?
Yeah,
Myron
of course.
Freaking brain surgeon. I mean, different paths to success. It's funny. Right. I was distracted there for a second because I just got a DM from Lance Leopold at Kansas, who I just mentioned earlier. Is a guy who might have been a fit for Wisconsin or Nebraska or whatever.
Right.
And he just asked me, like everybody does. It's always the belated Merry Christmas. Mm-hmm. How you doing? You don't care. Nobody cares. Are you keeping track of portal entries by school and FBS by chance again this year? Everybody wants something. And guess what? I'm going to tell Lance, I have a live Google Doc that you can pay for to have access to. Lance doesn't get things for free. Players don't get things for free. Nobody gets anything for free. It's life.
But Lance will take advantage of the opportunity.
Oh, Lance will pay for it.
Well, that's my point. See, Lance, as a head coach and a guy who's been around and is obviously as successful as he is, will say, hey, you know what? I'm willing to pay for an opportunity. And that's the big thing, that it's harder for 19 and 21-year-olds and 18-year-olds to understand that, especially if they're going to parents. This is not a knock on their parents, but they may not have been down that path themselves, right? So that's hard when everybody around you doesn't really understand how that path works and what they need to do. And then they might be giving you advice. And now you have two guys like us who obviously understand how it is, but we're giving advice. But obviously, there's a financial exchange between our services and what. So then they become skeptical. But the funny thing is, we're the ones that obviously know how it works, and that's what's hard, developing that trust. Like Lance Leopold knows you are a trustworthy source of information, that if he does a financial exchange with you, you're going to provide that information for him that gives him the value. And that's really what it is here.
Well, and honestly, the first thing he's going to do, I'm going to say, yeah, coach, we have it for sale. And the first thing he's going to do is try to barter for it, which I expect, like, listen, if you could try to barter services for a new freaking PlayStation 5,
Well,
and you
yeah.
don't have to pay for it, then you're going to try to do that. It's like, oh, well, I could, give you this, that, and the other for it, and it doesn't have to be, and again, this is like coaches and schools pay for stuff all the time. They pay for scouting reports. They pay for, whatever that one Under Armour does. I forget what theirs is called. And, there's a couple of them out there that are famous, where they'll give you the list of the best players, by state or whatever. And it has video on and on. So there's nothing illegal about it. You pay for these services. You pay for these companies to be consultants for your recruiting. I think that a lot of them have dried up and gone away, but there's still some out there. But that's the first thing he's going to do is going to say, well, I can give you this, this, and this for it. And it may be the promise of commitment breaking or whatever. I don't know. Who knows? I doubt it will be that. Because he's not, you're not allowed to talk to anybody about commitments. You're not allowed to talk to anybody about recruits, and that's not what we're doing here. It's a violation. So the offer may be, well, I could do this, that, and the other, and then I'm going to come back and I say, well, no, it's a business. It takes a lot of time. I pay Mark Pashanik, and Mark, Portal Jesus, I call him. I pay him for his services. He meticulously follows the portal and logs kids at this position. He breaks them down by FBS, FCS, Division II, blah, 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 you name it. It takes him a lot of time and a lot of effort to do it, and I pay him for that. So if somebody wants to come in and say, hey, can I get that for free? No, you can't, because I got to pay for it. And you know what? This is the way business works. I got to pay this. I'm going to charge you this so I can make a profit, because that's what's called profit, capitalism. With our promotion, we make money. Yeah. Are we getting rich? No, certainly. I wish we were. I wish I got an email every day saying we had 20 kids sign up. That'd be great. Doesn't happen. But the ones that do sign up, we give them their best effort, and we try to make sure that they're getting value for their money. And that's the most important thing to me. So, but this is just an example. Last night I got a text message from a coach who was upset that he was on a hot seat list that I put out. The day before that, I got a text message from a coach who was upset about Cormani Mcclain rumors and this, that, and the other. Most coaches are upset. Most of them bitch and moan, but they all pay attention. That's it. Some of the stuff I write, listen, I have my own website, MikeFarrellSports.com. It gets maybe 10,000 visitors a day. It's small. Right. It's brand new. I'm amazed at the crap that they notice, because sometimes I put stuff up there and I'm like, oh, geez, I hope nobody notices this. Every freaking one of them notices it. It's like, and then I get text messages like, why'd you write that? Why'd you write this? And sometimes it's not even my byline. Everybody's paying attention. Everybody has GAs that are looking at this stuff. And if they're not GAs, they're looking at it themselves. So the promotion portion of it's the same thing. They're paying attention. They may bitch, they may moan. That's what coaches do about everything, as you know, but they're paying attention. So that's why it's a good investment. So listen, I have no issues, no qualms responding to somebody and saying this costs money. And I don't feel guilty about it whatsoever. Because again, if you want to get your car fixed, the mechanic's not going to feel bad that he's charging you money, because he has to pay for the time and services that are provided. And that's what we do too. But I will tell you this, you're going to get bang for your buck. No doubt about
it. There's no doubt about it. That's a huge component of it. It's the exchange that gets you something. And the truth is, it not only is it helpful for you, we go over and above, and it's going to make a difference. And the truth, I would say, like, listen, if you came to us and you were not good at all, we wouldn't even waste our time. Like, we're not going to just, if you have no ability. What we found is a lot of really good players have come to us that have ability and belong somewhere, right? And they belong to have an opportunity somewhere. And that's the good thing, that we're able to get them that opportunity. But
real quick, Ajee Hall just jumped in the portal again. So Ajee Hall was a high four-star wide receiver out of Florida, went to Alabama, got in trouble at Alabama. Him and Saban butted heads, went to Texas, got trouble at Texas. They butted heads. He's back in the portal again. No offense. I like him. Nice kid. He's a little quirky, always has been. He follows me on Twitter. I follow him. We DM every once in a while. Guess what coaches don't want? Ajee Hall. They don't. He's 6'3", 200 pounds, more talent than you can ever think of. NFL talent. They don't want him. They want you. If they could find a kid who is FCS trying to jump in the portal and jump up, or Division II to jump up, who's hungry, who wants it, who doesn't give him headaches on the field, off the field, whatever, they want you. They don't want him. They wanted him, and then he blew it. And then he blew it again. And listen, this is tough talk, right? But if I were in front of a G Hall right now, I'd say the same thing. I'd like, you got to get out of your own freaking way. You're a knucklehead. Stop being a knucklehead because you could be an NFL football player. But they don't want him. They'd rather you be 6'1" and 190 pounds and a tick slower than him, but not give him problems. So I just mentioned him because he just went in, and I'm like, he's going to get a home because he's so talented. Some group of 5 school will go on him. JT Daniels is on his 4th school. But they're tired of these guys, man. I'm talking to coaches all the time. They put in so much work and effort into recruiting and the portal. They don't want these guys. They want you, and you're unknown, and they would rather have you.
Well, it makes, I mean, JT Daniels, where did he end up this 4th time?
Right. So it's just a turd story. Like he was a good kid in high school. Him and Amon-Ra St. Brown were one of the best combinations I've ever seen, quarterback, wide receiver.
Yes.
He accelerated out of high school a year early, went to USC, got hurt, ended up losing his job there. Then he went to Georgia, got hurt, ended up losing his job there. Then he went to West Virginia, he stunk, ended up losing his job there. What ticks me off about him, though, is him and his dad kind of shut everything down, and they were real like annoying about the portal process. You know, you reach out to them, you get nothing. Then they commit, and then you hear from them. But the second part of it was his demands at Oregon State and West Virginia before he landed at West Virginia. He wanted X amount of dollars, which was 7 figures. He wanted a house. He wanted this, that, and the other, everything down to like a freaking Apple TV subscription. It was ridiculous what I saw.
Really?
Yeah. And he got it at West Virginia. He turned down almost like, I think, a slightly similar offer at Oregon State. And then he sucked. And he's taking the money. He's going to Rice. Those type of kids, coaches learn their lessons eventually. I could tell you this, West Virginia is not going to take another 2-time portal kid ever again at quarterback as long as Neil Brown's there, or even the next coach and the next coach, because someone in that room is going to still be around from JT Daniels' day and say, no, we did that. We tried that. And that doesn't work.
How does a kid transfer 4 times and not have it? I thought the rule was, so explain that to people. That's something that people have to understand. Explain how that works. How is that possible?
They got to so the first transfer, of course, is on you. You could do it anytime you want. And there's no penalty for it. The second time he transferred, so from USC to Georgia was his 1-time transfer. The second time from UGA to West Virginia, he was a graduate student. He had graduated, and kids are graduating these days in 3 fucking years. It's crazy. 3 years, 2 years. I've seen kids graduate 2 years.
How is that possible too?
I don't know. I've seen kids who are redshirt freshmen who are graduate transfers. Okay, but okay, you're a grad transfer. You're allowed to transfer.
Yeah.
And as a grad transfer, you could transfer all you want. So there's his third bite at the apple. It's like, okay, I'm a grad transfer. I could jump from school to school to school to school. But who wants him? Who wants him? Why would you want him?
How do you not lose credits when you transfer from one school to the other?
Well, that's the other thing. You can lose credits. Sometimes they transfer well. Sometimes you do your research. I mean, JT Daniels is not a dumb kid, and he's not a bad kid.
He's smart.
His dad's not a bad guy either. But it's just like they do their research. They make sure their credits are transferable. He was a high school player when Trevor Lawrence he matriculated into that 2018 class. So it's been 4 years. So I could see how he is graduate. But when he graduated from UGA to transfer to West Virginia, I was a little surprised because 2018 was his recruiting year. So that means he was a freshman in 2018, 2019, 2 years in, 2020, 3 years in. He got his degree after 3 years, and he probably did a bunch of summer courses and accelerated classes and stuff like that. Yep. That's what everybody's doing now, though. All these kids are now grad transfers after 3 years. I don't know if school's getting easier or if COVID changed it where you could take all your courses online now.
Right, because you could just bundle up. You could just bundle the classes.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to go physically to class, so you could take probably 15 credits in the summer, whereas before you could take like 6. So I think that's what's happening. But yeah, they're getting extra bites of the apple because they're grad transfers. But again, I mean, schools are starting to learn finally that they're making mistakes on the portal kids, and they don't want headaches. And I know schools that have told me directly. I go, we follow your feed at Farrell Portal, looking for D2, looking for FCS kids, and we don't tweet out every kid who goes in the portal. There's been 4,000 kids since August 1st between Division 3, Division 2, FCS, and Group of 5 and Power 5. 4,000 plus. We don't tweet out every one of them, or Mark would die. We tweet out the ones that are of interest. So if there's a kid from a Division 2 school that put up big numbers, wide receiver, 80 catches, 1,000 yards last year, we'll put them out there, and they will get so much attention so fast. But if you're not that kid, if you don't have the big statistics and no one's ever heard of you, and you're not on our radar to put you on that portal feed, like the kid who yelled at me the other day, you got to pay, and then we'll do it. And this is an infant. We're in the infancy of this business, high school and portal, you and I. And eventually people are going to really realize that they should have made that investment, and then they're playing nowhere, and they're probably going to tell somebody what happened, and that person's going to learn from their lessons. So it's going to be a lot of hard lessons here that people are going to have to deal with in not signing up for the promo, but that's nothing we can do about that either.
Yeah, and you can see below, we have it scrolling. This is the high school promo, myfootballcamps.com/D1. The college one for the transfers, myfootballcamps.com/D1-transfer. Those links can't be much easier. If you can't remember myfootballcamps.com/D1, there's probably not a lot of things you can remember.
Well, people forget it. I had over Christmas holidays, because now it's really starting to get busy, with people interested in promotion. And again, they don't want to pay for it. I get it. But now I'm starting to get a ton of 2024, 25. Season's over. Film has been cut. I'm getting a ton of DMs that are to my requested DMs, because I don't follow them. So my DMs are open, but I have to go to the requested DMs. And I hit them back and I tell them, we have a paid promotion program, and they usually respond and they ask what packages are available. And then I'll lay it out for them, because I will not send them to the links directly, because they don't look at it. They don't want to read. So I dumb it down and I say, well, it's $200 for the one time, $1,000 for the 6 months. Most people take the 6 month because that's smarter, especially you, son or parent of a son who's 2026. You probably need the 6 month, blah, blah, blah. And then they hem and haw. And then I have to sort of not sell it. I'm not selling them. But they're like, well, what do I get for this, and this? And I tell them. But then when we put out the promos, that's when people really start to see it. There's like, well, why is that kid getting promoted? Why do I keep seeing TK George, and why do I keep seeing Criswell or some of these other guys that I put out today? Why are those guys getting promotion? They signed up for the promotion package and they're getting it. You're not going to get it unless you pay for it, and that's just the way life is. So it's a constant. There's a lot of lack of trust out there because so many people have screwed people over in this industry, and we're just going to have to push through that lack of trust.
Absolutely. Well, this will be.
But I got a hard out in 4 minutes. So
yeah, well, we're going to let you run here in a second, and I think the big thing will be after the new year too. Once we get through the holidays, people have spent their money in a lot of gifts that people won't use, and then and then they'll come back around to something that they can use. Before you go, who so far in the transfer portal has been like the big winners, and who has really struggled?
So Michigan's been great. They did a lot of work in the trenches, which I think is very important. The fat kids, as I call them, are the hardest kids to find. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman. Florida State's done great. LSU's done very well. Colorado just picked up, Travis Hunter, of course, as expected, but some other kids. So they're rising. Oregon's done well. Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State, new coach, he's done well. The ones that aren't doing well, I think you just sort of hear the frustration of the fan bases. Ohio State, fans want them to get a couple of these big time transfers, and they haven't got one yet. Clemson fans are always frustrated because Dabo doesn't like the portal. But Mel Tucker, Michigan State a couple years ago, USC last year, Ole Miss last year. It can really make a big difference to your roster immediately. So the team I'm looking at, Michigan's already good. They're getting better, and Florida State is good, but they're getting better and better. That Florida State's going to be a scary team with these portal additions if everybody stays healthy.
Interesting, very, very interesting stuff. It's not always who you think is going to be the winner in that transfer portal thing. So,
well, Alabama hasn't really started yet. I mean, they're going to pick and choose their guys, and Georgia's going to pick. Well, Georgia just got two amazing receivers. The kid from Missouri, Dominic Levet, and they just got Ra Thomas from Mississippi State. So they got two elite receivers in one day. But I don't even count that as successful because they're Alabama and Georgia. They can get who they want in the portal. It's the teams that are trying to get to that Alabama Georgia level that impress me, and that's what Florida State's done.
Well, Alabama was really winning on the high school football recruiting side.
Yeah, they finished first again as always. And Nick Saban's a machine, and he said, "I don't like NIL" a couple years ago, but I'm gonna win it. I don't like it, but I'm gonna win it, and he did. He won it.
He won it. All right. On that note, listen, check out myfootballcamps.com/D1 for the high school kids, D1-transfer for the college guys, and stay tuned. We'll have that updated for our winter showcase for you guys for the recruits. With me and Mike are going to be there, so it'll be a great time and a great opportunity. So we'll see you guys very, very soon. Mike, any last thoughts?
No last thoughts. Just got another. Christmas. I'm glad it's over. It's just crazy. Just a lot,
Well, at least you don't. You're not like me. I give my son everything he could ever want, and then more, and that's probably bad.
I would do the same thing. If I had a kid, I would do the same thing. I think that's Christmas is for kids. So
yes,
your son should get all that stuff, and you should get the joy of watching him get all that stuff. And 15 years from now, when he's in therapy bitching about you as a dad, you can just remind him of all the stuff you got him. Oh, I never got anything for Christmas. My dad didn't care. Well, okay. I took pictures of everything you got, and it was a freaking ton. So shut up. That's what I would do with my kid.
No. We'll see you guys next time.